What it achieves, I do not know. I think the prediction, France in some ways is too early to say anything about. But what I think is very clear is that we are now on a path where over the longer range, the G8 is going to wither away, the G20 is going to become the established forum, and that I think will be a good thing.
I don't know what to expect from President Sarkozy, but as far as some of the major issues are concerned, I think the French are going to make some progress on the international monetary system. Of course, there's not going to be a major breakthrough, but I think it's important for the global community to deal with these important questions and get some head start so that subsequent summits will make further progress. And that, in fact, is the way things have progressed since 2008. So you have to look at the whole process.
President Sarkozy was actually very excited by this presidency when he assumed it, and he has been pushing very hard for some of the economic reforms that are essential. So like the French actually instituted this high-level seminar that they had first time in Nanjing, which again was a very useful exercise, and I think the French are going about it in a very systematic way. And so I actually hope to see some concrete results coming out of the French presidency and the final summit under the French that could perhaps move the economic reform further forward.
I think we're going to see development coming into the agenda in a major way. I think that's what the France meeting is going to be remembered for, and that's a positive thing, I think.
Well, the French have a very ambitious agenda. They've got the global and the financial issues on the table, the regular issues that were there for which the G20 was created. They've also got food security, which is a very important issue. It's being discussed right now at the officials level. I'm not so sure how much of progress they'll be able to make. There is some suspicion on the part of some that this might be used as an excuse to sort of raise the protectionist walls, in the area of agriculture. Hopefully that is not the intention. I don't think that is the intention of the French. But as you heard some of the others speak today, food security in their view is an important issue that should be addressed in the context of global development and global economic challenges. The other issue that is there on the table, I think, which the French might pay quite a bit of attention to, is the issue of development in general. The question is, what is development? It's very easy to say, I want to see development, more development going to the developing world, but what exactly does it mean? I think the G20 can give some meat and some structure to that discussion. One of the ideas that has been put on the table by the 3G is the question of, or is the idea of livable cities. The argument being made that with growing urbanization, more and more people are going to go into the cities. And if the cities are not functioning well, they become slums, hellholes, and places for crime and great poverty. And I think we don't want that to happen. So if the G20 can give some direction on that front, maybe to UNDP, maybe to the individual governments, that might be a great way of moving the process forward in development.
Oh, I think we'll get quite a bit from Mr. Sarkozy because he's an ambitious fellow. There is already a big agenda. So I think you'll see all the major core issues move forward, international institutional reform with the IMF perhaps. Second, the whole financial regulatory reform issue, I think. Third, the macroeconomic global imbalances set of issues of coordinating domestic macro policies and exchange rate policies and international trade and capital flows. Those three core agenda items will move forward. The new development agenda the Koreans put on will be there. President Sarkozy, when he was in Japan in early April, committed to the G20 to discussing and hopefully pushing forward a stronger nuclear safety regulatory regime. So those are 5 issues right there of major consequence. And then I think there'll be others, possibly food security, maybe a few other issues which come up which are also dealt with. But I think the international monetary system for sure, I think will be something that the President of France has said that he wants to have discussed, and it's pretty clear what the sort of focus of that would be in terms of the evolving multi-currency system that's coming forward. So I think it'll be a rich agenda. I don't think you're going to see any real leapfrogging or blockbuster breakthroughs in this, but I think you'll see gradual pushing forward, as is customary in these kinds of complicated G20 settings addressing complicated issues. You'll see nudging forward on a half dozen fronts of consequence to not only the G20 nations, but the rest of the world.
Well, very briefly, for every presidency there is a task which is to push the previous commitments forward. So, for example, in my field, the issue of financial regulation has been treated in part, but very important topics remain on the table, and we should go forward for what is called strategically important financial institutions, or for the derivatives, and a few for accounting standards, so a few very important issues. So that's pushing the previous commitment, implementing previous decisions. And as you know, the French presidency has put three very important issues as its priorities, which is just mention, which is, in my view, the most important one, which is the reform of the international monetary system. Everyone sees that the international monetary system doesn't function very well. Everyone has criticisms to explain, and we should do something together because everyone, the United States, China, and the Europeans, everyone has some interest with regard of a better functioning of the system. So the French and the Chinese organized a conference a few weeks ago in April in Nanjing, and this was a meeting for reflection for the ministers, for the central bankers, and a few experts. And in my view, it proved more successful than what I expected. So the French manages this important issue with modesty. We will not have a new system, but we are making one step, I think, in the good direction.
Well, our view has been that we did very well in dealing with the crisis in 2008. And we also managed to set up a fairly substantive agenda in the meetings, not only in Washington, but in London following that, as well as in Pittsburgh. But since then, you know, some of the momentum has been lost. And what we would hope is that the meeting in Paris later this year will in some way restore that momentum. And we say this because it is our view that even though economic recovery has started taking place, obviously, but we are not out of the woods yet. And there is a lot of work still to be done in terms of, having much more effective norms of behavior amongst the major economies. This whole new innovation of, the peer review of the major economies. This will be the first time that the 7 major economies will have actually an evaluation report, like a report card. How people will react to it remains to be seen. But these are new ways of dealing with major issues that need to be formalized, that need to be established. And I think the meeting in Paris will be the place where some of these new things will need to be formalized. Obviously, there will be a temptation to introduce new items on the agenda. Our view has been that we should first, do a good job with what agenda item we already have before us, which is the health of the global economy. Yes, we have accepted that we should, as part and parcel of global economic governance, we should also look at developmental issues. That is a very big field. So whatever focus we can bring to the issue of development, that would be welcome. But beyond that, I think as India, we would like to be somewhat cautious in a very premature expansion of the agenda. Our sense is that maybe France is pushing a bit in the direction of expanding the agenda. And of course, as host, every host wants to bring in something which is their own initiative, which has the stamp of their country as host. But I would hope that this does not become a sort of a premature inflation of the agenda. But on balance, we would say that we are looking forward to a very successful summit. a lot of the work that is going on behind the scenes at the moment, our sense is that we are making progress, and that is something which is very encouraging.